Amanda Serrano and Alycia Baumgardner are undisputed champions at featherweight and super featherweight, and this is how they got there. My name is Abbas, you're tuning in to STAYWEIGHEDIN Podcast, and let's talk about yesterday's action. So let's go with the main event first. Amanda Serrano beating Erika Cruz, unanimous decision. But I guess let's break down the fight and what happens going forward. So we start off with the first round. Erika Cruz comes out a bit flat-footed. The commentators also alluded to it, and it looked like it was one of them fights where she was just happy to be there type of thing. As the fight progressed, one of the biggest talking points was the big cut that she got on her head, and credit to her corner, the officials and the doctor as well, because of the magnitude of the fight. They didn't stop it. They did actually do a really good job of patching up the cut. The fight was a slugfest. We should actually, give a lot of credit to the women, because as much as they are tactical, they're also amazing. And I know last week we had Better Beer versus Yard, and this was just as good for the entire 10 rounds. It was an actual slugfest. Serrano herself, for me, throughout the fight, did look in control. As much as it was a back and forth in terms of the action itself, I always felt like at the end of it, you would see Serrano's hand raised. And that's exactly what happened. The actual action itself, throughout it, Cruz fought a very unorthodox fight. And what I mean by that is she was always quite low. She wasn't standing up and facing Amanda, even though both girls were stood. It was always, I'm going to be a bit lower than you. Her head was always down, and she was punching from below upwards. Whereas you see Serrano, so she's trying to counter that as well. And like I said, credit to both women. I mean, one of the things we say is we want to get these fights done. We want to get undisputed. And we're going to talk about Alycia afterwards as well. But again, we're getting these fights. We're getting what we need, and we're getting definitive champions at one particular division. After the fight, Amanda Serrano's hand was raised, winning by unanimous decision. And then it was all a case of what's next. For a long time, it's always been that we are going to get the Katie Taylor fight, the rematch in Ireland. And that was basically confirmed. I believe the date is May the 20th. For the location, I'm not 100% sure. I do believe it is going to obviously be in Ireland, but as for the actual venue itself, I'm not 100% sure. It's the fight that everyone wants, the fight that everyone has been talking about since the last vote at MSG as well. And it's the fight that we're getting. And again, it goes back to that thing that we talked about where the men, for some reason, just can't put the ego to one side and make the fights that the fans want. And credit where credit is due, the women are doing this. And I'm excited to see how this particular fight fares out. I do think also this is going to be that retirement fight, that final fight for Katie Taylor. And what a way to go out. It's going to be one of them fights that will have eyes on everyone. And both women, not just one, go in as a star. I know we talk about 1A, 1B sometimes, and it's hard to separate at times. I think this is, again, one of them fights where it's hard to separate. Amanda Serrano has become a star in her own right, as is Katie Taylor. She'll have a huge following going into this fight. It'd be interesting, again, to see how many people go ahead and turn up for that fight in terms of Serrano's camp, how many fans she brings over. I know that she will travel well, so I wouldn't be surprised if we are going to get a big amount of fans from each women. And I'm glad that we have this sorted. Going forward into the core main event, Alycia Baumgardner, super featherweight, undisputed champion. Something that she talked about she wanted to do. Similar to Serrano in the sense that this was a fight that we expected her to win. And she went out there, delivered, got the job done. One thing I will say is going to give credit where credit is due to the officials. Sometimes we talk about early stoppages. In this particular fight, I believe it was the third round, there was a double knockdown. If this was a 3-minute fight, I can expect the fight to be stopped there and then, as in within the 3 minutes. But because it was a 2-minute fight, the officials did give a bit more leeway, and we continued. Alycia again caught unanimous decision victory. One thing I'll say about this particular fight is you had a few rounds, which I am personally a bit critical of, but I understand, where Baumgardner gives up because of how much she exerts in the previous round. A lot of people have said, what's next? And I think Michaela Meyer was in the audience, and we may well get that rematch. I know the first fight itself, where a lot of people questioned the decision, said it was too close to call type of thing. Some had Alycia losing as well. I know when she did beat her the first time, and she said that I'm not going to give her a rematch, I'm going for undisputed. Now that that has been done, it will be interesting to see if we can get that particular rematch and when and where we will get that done as well. My only critique of Baumgardner is the fact that sometimes when she exerts herself too much in one round, she gives up the other round. If it's against a fighter of a little bit more skill, sometimes that can be detrimental to her. And also at the same time, if she is down on a few rounds but giving up that round, you're essentially giving up a chance to win the fight in some ways, or you're helping somebody else either pull away or make up ground on you. But one thing I do want to say, and this is just a thing on women's boxing in general, I believe there's only two divisions at this present moment in time where there isn't undisputed champions. And that's a big credit to women's boxing. I understand why, because obviously we're in a position where at the moment men's boxing is valued a bit more, or women's boxing is on the rise. So because of that, we're getting particular fights that we may not get if women's boxing was of a par level, because we are trying to put women's boxing on the map, and for that we need the big fights ASAP. So I understand. However, that is no excuse why the men cannot put their egos to the side, make the fights that everyone wants to see. Because right now in the women's boxing, this is like a women's revolution. It's thriving. It's on top. It's as strong as it has been, and it's a credit to the two women that were on the card yesterday or early hours of the morning, and alongside a range of other women that we've talked about, we've had on the show, we've had on the channel as well. So that's one thing I will definitely say. Two is sometimes a conversation about 3-minute rounds. I understand why some people may say, well, they don't fight 3-minute rounds. To start off with, the excitement is there in 2-minute rounds. A lot of fights that I actually have enjoyed last year was the women's boxing itself, and a bit of the excitement comes from 2-minute rounds. Plus also you've got the idea of the pay. I believe women can fight 3-minute rounds as well. But as an overall, the 2-minute structure we got right now, it's perfect. I enjoy it. I love it. Can't really sit here and complain. The trajectory that you see in women's boxing right now is on the rise, and I do think it will continue to get better. But I guess I want to know you guys' views as well now as we wrap up. What did you make of yesterday's the action? And also going forward, are you excited for Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano too? And how do you think that will play out in Ireland? And also, where are we going to see Alycia Baumgardner now? Are we going to get that rematch? Is she going to look her eyes on somebody else? She did also, interesting enough, talk about Katie Taylor in a post-match interview as well. So, could that potentially be a case where Katie doesn't retire? Let us know. And as always, if you're enjoying the content, you know what to do. Drop a like, share, subscribe. And as always, love and peace.